Meet Jasmine and Marcus. Both are driven professionals in their prime. Jasmine is a 29-year-old marketing specialist in New York City, earning $76,000. Marcus is 35, working IT in Houston, pulling in $94,000. To the taxman, they are simply profitable economic units. But there is a lethal discrepancy hidden in their spreadsheets. While Jasmine is drowning, her future being siphoned off by a $3,475 monthly rent premium, Marcus is accelerating toward a specific mathematical horizon that the system discourages you from finding. He is tracking the freedom crossover. This is the exact moment your investment income eclipses your living expenses, rendering your boss irrelevant. Most of us are kept in the dark about where this line is, because the banking cartel profits when you stay trapped on their side of the equation. Today, I'll expose the exact algorithm extracting wealth from people like Jasmine. I'll calculate the 2024 inflation-adjusted numbers you need to escape, and I'll hand you the 3-step framework to reclaim your time before the system grinds it away. Here is what they don't tell you about the economy in 2024. The rules of the game have been rewritten, but they kept the old scorecard to confuse you. For decades, you were told that a 6-figure salary was the ticket to freedom. That is a lie designed to keep you on the treadmill. In the current economic architecture, income is vanity. Retained earnings are sanity. The system counts on you ignoring the silent extraction taking place every time you swipe your card. Let's look at the raw data that exposes the trap. NerdWallet and the Bureau of Labor Statistics recently crunched the numbers for January 2026, and the baseline for survival has shifted violently. The average cost of living for a single person in the U.S. has ballooned to $6,440 per month. That is $77,000 a year just to exist at a standard baseline. If you are earning the average U.S. salary of $75,600, a figure confirmed by BLS data in late 2024, you are technically underwater before you even save a dime. The math is rigged against the average participant. This brings us back to Jasmine. She represents the regional trap. She did everything right. Got the degree, moved to the big city, landed the prestige job. But the system in NYC charges a premium for that proximity. With rent averaging $3,475 a month, her fixed costs are burning through her capital before it can ever compound. To hit her freedom crossover, she would need a portfolio generating $66,000 a year in passive income. Using the standard 4% withdrawal rule, where you multiply your expenses by 25, her target number is $1,650,000. When she sees that number, she freezes. It feels impossible because the system designed her lifestyle to make it impossible. She is running a race where the finish line moves further away with every paycheck. Contrast this with Marcus in Houston. He isn't smarter. He just optimized his geography. His rent is $1,700. His groceries cost 15% less. His target expenses are $50,000 a year. Multiply that by 25, and his freedom crossover number is $1,250,000. That is a $400,000 discount on freedom, simply because he refused to pay the zip code tax. The system loves Jasmine because she is a high-volume consumer. It fears Marcus because he is an efficient accumulator. They want you to believe that cost of living is just a fact of life. It's not. It's the primary lever they use to keep your crossover point out of reach. Now, let's decode the mechanics of how we escape. The formula they hide behind complexity is actually stupidly simple, but it requires you to reject the consumer programming you've been fed since birth. The calculation is your annual expenses multiplied by 25. That gives you your freedom number. But knowing the number isn't enough. You need velocity. You need to compress the time it takes to get there. The banking system is betting against you here. They know the average American savings rate is pathetic, and they rely on that inertia. The Bureau of Economic Analysis and the Joint Economic Committee released data for January 2026 showing the personal savings rate has collapsed to just 3.5%. Think about what that means. For every $100 you earn, the system reclaims $96.50 through necessity, convenience, and debt service. If you save 3.5% of your income, you will work until you die. That is not a bug in the system. It is a feature. Let's run the projection for Marcus to show you what defying the system looks like. Marcus earns $94,000. After taxes, let's say he clears $72,000. He lives on $50,000. That leaves him with a $22,000 annual surplus, roughly $1,800 a month. The average person would upgrade their car. Marcus buys assets. If he funnels that capital into a standard 401k or index fund portfolio, which Vanguard's How America Saves 2025 report confirms has averaged an 8% return historically, he starts bending reality. In year 1, it feels slow. But by year 10, the compound interest is doing more heavy lifting than his overtime hours. While the average saver with that 3.5% rate is on a 60-year trajectory to retirement, Marcus is compressing decades into years. He is buying his time back from the employer class. The optimization here is critical. Reducing his expenses was 25 times more powerful than getting a raise. Every $100 he cut from his monthly budget lowered his freedom number by $30,000. $100 times 12 months times 25. That is the leverage point they don't want you to understand. Cutting costs isn't about deprivation. It's about lowering the price of your own liberty. If you are listening to this and realizing the math doesn't work for you yet, stop and calculate your gap. Take your income, subtract your expenses, and see what's left. If the number is negative or zero, you are in the extraction zone. Comment below with your calculated freedom number or the year you plan to hit your crossover point. Let's see who is actually paying attention to the math. But there is a barrier we haven't discussed. It's the psychological firewall that stops most people before they even open an investment account. You cannot invest aggressively if you are terrified of your own bank balance. The system thrives on your anxiety. When you are stressed about money, you make short-term decisions that profit them, not long-term decisions that profit you. Empower's 2025 survey reveals a damning statistic. The median emergency savings balance in America is just $500. That is not a safety net. That is a trap door. If your car breaks down or you need a root canal, you are forced into credit card debt at 25% interest. You are forced back into the extraction cycle. You cannot build a castle of wealth on a foundation of sand. This is where the liquidity moat comes in. Before you chase that 8% return in the stock market, you need to exploit the banking war for customers. Most people leave that $500 in a traditional checking account, earning 0.01%. You are effectively lending the bank money for free. Stop doing that. FDIC data from late 2025 shows the national average savings rate is a pitiful 0.39%. Yet challenger banks and high-yield accounts are paying upwards of 5% APY. The spread between 0.39% and 5% is wealth transfer. If you have $10,000 in savings, the big banks pay you $39 a year. The high-yield accounts pay you $500. That is $461 stolen from you by your own apathy. To start your escape, you must build a 3-month moat in a high-yield account. This isn't about getting rich off the interest. It's about buying the psychological peace of mind required to invest the rest of your money without panic selling when the market dips. Think of Joe, a 41-year-old school teacher. He knew the math. He knew he needed to invest. But every time he tried, life happened. A flat tire, a medical bill. He'd drain his investment account to pay for it, locking in losses and destroying his momentum. He was stuck in the anxiety loop. The fix wasn't earning more. It was automating $100 a month into a separate high-yield savings account that he couldn't touch with a debit card. Once that account hit $2,000, his anxiety vanished. He started investing again, and this time, he didn't stop. He built his moat, and then he stormed the castle. We have exposed the mechanics of the trap. Now let's recap the escape plan. First, you must calculate your true expenses. Not what you think you spend, but what actually leaves your account. Multiply that annual number by 25 to see the target the system is trying to hide from you. Second, reject the 3.5% savings rate norm. That is a poverty setting. Aggressively widen the gap between your income and your life, utilizing geography and tax-advantaged accounts to accelerate the process. Third, build your liquidity moat. Do not let a $500 emergency force you back into servitude. The goal here is not to be the richest person in the graveyard. The goal is to reach the freedom crossover while you still have the vitality to enjoy it. We are not just building a bank account. We are buying our unconditional release from a system designed to extract our life force until age 65. If you are done being a battery for the economic machine, subscribe. Next week, I'm breaking down the mathematical tipping point of the first 100K and why it's the hardest money you will ever save. This is Leo Invests, and we are done playing their game. This video is for educational purposes only, not personal financial advice. All data is from NerdWallet, BLS, Vanguard, and FDIC sources as of January 2026. Products mentioned are examples, not recommendations. Consult a licensed financial advisor for your specific situation.